Alright, welcome to the first Darkest Before Dawn developer vlog. Today I'll be sharing the modular building system to allow you to build custom shaped houses and barns and whatever you're going to place in your outpost. I find survival games, a big part of it is making the base your own, so this will contribute a lot to it. Keep in mind, most, if not all, the assets are early alpha assets that will change. So I'm just going to go through, I'm going to show you a little bit of what I have done so far, and throughout this devlog I'll update you with future features. So first thing I'll show you is just the floor system. Basically how it's going to work is at the moment pretty much any wall that you want to put down is going to have to go down on a foundation, which is like a floor. So basically that's going to work similar to the gardens and fences that they have set up. Most items you'll be able to place anywhere, but certain items they'll snap to a grid, and that's just so things line up neatly. You can line up your doors and your gates, and just makes that a little bit simpler. So here I'll just spawn myself 100 pieces of wood, which is more than you'll ever be able to carry in a stack, but this is a developer admin thing. So let's see, one thing I added, I'll show how I did that a little bit later, but basically you don't have to go back in and click every time you want to add something. This, as long as you have enough resources in your inventory, with certain buildings you should be able to continue building them. So whatever buildings that we've kind of selected, you should be able to continue building them. Certain buildings that you're naturally not going to want to build multiple of, this feature doesn't exist, but I'll just kind of show that a little bit later. So there we go, we have the floor. In future iterations I'll have a raycast that gets sent down from here and just kind of deletes any grass, so you don't have any grass poking through. So what we have is it's pretty simple. You probably recognize this from other things. What we have here is that it snaps, but it doesn't just see that the floor snapped to the middle of the grid, but this snaps to the edge of the grid. So in a little bit I'll kind of show you the basic code behind it. These aren't tutorials, these are just kind of developer diaries. If you're kind of interested, you can see what's going on. So basically, when we put down a thing, we get a long piece. When we place down another one, this one becomes shorter. They get replaced with other ones, and then yeah, it's just like that. You can see that they're being changed because the you can see the line going through there, pretty much lines up right through there. With a bit of clever artwork and stuff like that, I'll be able to hide these lines pretty well. Certain ones will keep, so they add a little bit of aesthetic. Other lines will probably remove, probably keep some of the lines in the floor, but not probably smooth the log lines out in there. So basically the system works pretty well at the moment. There will be similar functionality with doors and windows, and then inside here you'll be able to place whatever you need. The next thing that we'll be working on, it will be a roof system. So I'm still not sure if we want to do a oh, interesting. Okay, so just noticed a little bug there that this one stretches. I just need to change the collider. The collider stretches too far on this, so that just it's a 30-second fix. But basically, yeah, you'll be able to come into your house, protect yourself from the rain. It'll probably afford you some heating as well. The roof, I'll have that fade away. There'll be a trigger collider underneath the roof, so when you walk under it, it won't instantly disappear, but it'll do a quick fade, you know, just so it doesn't look so snappy. It's going to look nice and smooth. But yeah, this is basically the beginning of the house. You put your bed in here, your you know, your cooking supplies, your chests, whatever you need to keep it safe. And next, let's take a look at some of the code that I used to create this. So here we are in the building manager script. It takes care of the majority of the building logic. What we're looking at here is the method that controls the building blueprint that follows your mouse around. So what we're doing is we're checking, are we building a wall? Because it's going to have slightly different logic than other buildings. If so, we want to find out if it's currently over a floor piece or not. If it's not, we want it to keep following the mouse. If it is over a floor piece, we want it to snap to one of the edges. So what we're going to do is we're going to send a ray out from the mouse and see where it hits. If it hits a wood floor, then the mouse is over a floor and we can start calculating which edge we're going to snap to. If it's not, then we'll have the mouse, the building blueprint, keep following the mouse. So if it is over a floor, the first thing we want to find out is what two sides is it more biased to. So let's picture a grid here. So our block is sitting right in the middle. Pretend this is the very center. Wherever our mouse is, it's either gonna be more to this side or more to this side. It's gonna be more left or right than the other one. It can't be necessary. It's almost very unlikely with 6-point floating numbers that it'll be exactly 0, 0, 0. So realistically, it'll favor one side or the other. It'll either be, so this is probably our X, this is our Z, Y is up and down. It doesn't really matter which direction we're facing. Basically, if it's more or less one way or the other, that kind of gives us the two directions. If, say, this is positive, this is negative, this is positive, this is negative. Say our mouse is pointing right here. So what we have here is this X, so this is the original location. This X is going to be higher than it, and the Z value is going to be higher. Say if the mouse was over here, then it would be the opposite. The X would be less, and the Z would be less, and you know, if it was in one of these two quadrants, it'd be one would be positive, the other would be negative, and vice versa. So we're basically right here just trying to figure out which two sides it's going to be on. We only have to calculate it once, because if it's not that, then it's got to be the other one. Next thing, we want to find the magnitude of which side's closer. Which one is it the most furthest away from, and that will kind of let us know where which side to snap to. So what we do is we find the difference, we take the position of the tile, we subtract the mouse position, that gives us the difference. Because we're dealing with negative numbers as well, we have to convert it to a positive number, which gives us the actual magnitude of it. From there, we compare. So we know that if it's if the X difference, which is up here, is bigger, then we know that it's got to be shifted to the X axis. And then we already calculated if it's favoring a positive or a negative from what we did up here. So up to there, if it's favoring a right aspect, we put it to the right, which is, we just shift it by the offset. So each unit's 1 unit, and if we want to shift it off to the side, we're basically shifting it by a half of a unit. And if it's not that, then we're going to shift to the left. Otherwise, if the X difference is less than the Z difference, then same thing. We just basically we eliminate our options. So it'll either be top or bottom, and then we already calculated the magnitude. If the magnitude up top is higher, we put it up there. If it's not, then we put it down below. Further, we kind of go on. This is what happens if the wall isn't over a floor tile. Basically, it's gonna follow the mouse around, and it's gonna give us a red material, just allowing the player letting the player know that they're not gonna be able to build there. Continuing on, this is just what the clicks do. This mouse button 0, that's your left mouse button. If everything's good, if it's over the floor and the ground's clear, that's a separate function I'll show you inside the actual building block script. We're gonna allow the building to be built. If we right click, basically we're gonna cancel out. Taking a look here at the building piece script, I'll probably rename this to blocks, because I don't like the idea of pieces. The idea of blocks just feels more intuitive. Playing Space Engineers and Minecraft and a lot of these building games, they're based around blocks. It feels more intuitive. We'll leave it as pieces for now. Basically what we're doing is we're finding out if there's any other pieces in front or behind the current log piece. So that way we can make long end pieces. So like a log house at the end, you have the pieces stick out a little bit. It's not just a hard edge. So that's what we're trying to achieve here. We have 4 different pieces. We have like a middle piece, which is if it's surrounded, if it has something in front of it and behind it, it's going to be a little middle piece. If there's nothing there, it'll be a long piece. If there's something in front or behind, it'll be offset one direction or the other. So we just basically want to find out which piece we want to put in. So when a new block is created, it's going to run this script. Basically, we're going to shoot a raycast in front and behind of it, and we're going to collect the information that it hits. So if it hits, one thing we're checking for here is that it doesn't hit itself. So that's what we're doing right here. We're just checking the instance ID, which has generated another script. We're just checking that it's not this building. So if there's something in front, we write that down. We add that neighbor piece to a list because we're going to iterate through, and we're going to have to update the neighbors. And we're only going to, there's a little bit of clever logic in there that just updates the 2 neighbors beside it, because we don't want to have like a chain reaction that goes off, and every time you add something to a wall, it sets off a chain reaction and tries to update every single block inside the building. So it just updates the blocks that it's touching. So we're checking to see if there's any front hits, if there's any back hits, and then we go down to the logic. So first thing we're checking is to make sure that we're not replacing a wall with the wall that it already is. This is more so for the pieces that are adjacent. So we're just making sure that we're not changing pieces that don't need to be changed. So assuming that it's not the piece that we're turning it into, which it shouldn't be, we're basically going to create the appropriate piece. If there's an object in front and behind, we're going to create a middle one. If there's no objects, like here, we're going to create a long piece, and then we have the offset pieces, which are basically a combination of the 2. What we do is we're going to create that piece, we're going to transfer over the instance ID that we had, name it the proper amount, and then we'll remove the piece that does not belong there anymore. And this is just the little bit of code that we have here that to make sure that it doesn't propagate through the entire chain. Basically, when the block is created, it's going to be a new piece as soon as so only it goes through all the neighbors that it finds and forces them to update. So it's going to go through this particular piece. When it's popped down, it's going to be a new piece. As soon as this code runs, it's no longer a new piece, so it'll never run again. And it's just every neighbor that it collects is going to trigger them, be like, hey, we got a new block going down. You guys need to update your models. Okay, thanks for watching that devlog. In the next one, I'm going to show how the roof system works.